You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk all about making enterprise GPT real with Azure Cognitive Search and Azure OpenAI Service with my friend Liam Cavanagh. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show where we're talking all about making enterprise GPT real with Azure Cognitive Search and Azure OpenAI Service with my friend Liam. Liam, it's been a while since you've been on the show, my friend.
It has been a while, but hopefully I can make it up with a couple of cool things to talk about today.
Well, anytime there's GPT and stuff and search, I'm super excited. Liam, for those who don't know you, why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Liam Cavanagh. I am the group product manager for Cognitive Search, and I lead the product group building out search and chat experiences or organizational data.
I love it. So I understand because we've talked about cognitive search, and I even did full demos with skills, and it's the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. But now you're telling me about GPT stuff, and when people hear GPT, they're thinking Chat GPT. So can you tell us a little bit how you're kind of putting these two things together?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Seth, I have a demo. Do you mind if I switch over to the demo so we
Let's
can
do
kind of
it.
walk through that?
Let's go to the screen right here. Here it is.
Cool. So in this demo, what I'm going to show you is basically what we've heard from customers ever since ChatGPT came out. What we heard is that they love the experience. They love the ability to be able to interact with it in a natural way. But we heard what people really wanted to be able to do, at least in organizations, is be able to do that over their data, using their own enterprise data to be able to interact through that and be able to ask natural questions. And
Interesting.
so when you ask about search, that's where we tie this in, is that search is such a great place to be able to retrieve useful information that we can then use as part of the ChatGPT experience.
So can I ask a question though? Because this is important because I want to make sure we're understanding correctly. Are you getting customer data and putting and like redoing the model, or is it something different than that?
No, that's a great question because you're absolutely not taking enterprise or organizational data and injecting it into a model.
Okay.
That can actually be, in many cases with the amount of content organizations, very costly, very time consuming. So a pattern that we're using is called RAG, retrieval augmented generation.
I see.
And what that means is that we're retrieving information from the search service. All that information is stored within an organization's search service that they own. And it retrieves that, and then it augments the answer using the OpenAI, Azure OpenAI model.
I see. Well, I'd love to see this in practice.
Cool. So why don't I actually walk through an example? In this
Let's do it.
demonstration, we'll actually share a link to where you can actually download the code to reproduce this yourself. But what I want to do is show you an example where, imagine, if you will, you are in an organization and you wanted to be able to take all of your HR documents, such as this one, which talks about the employee handbook. We have this, which is one of the many health plans from a fictitious company called Contoso.
Hmm.
And imagine you wanted to be able to use that information, but be able to have a chat experience over it. So I'm going to go back into this information or into this application. And by the way, we have used Azure Cognitive Search to ingest all of that content so that it's searchable. So let me choose one of these example questions, such as what's included in my health plan. And what's happening right now is the first stage is it's going to Cognitive Search and it's trying to retrieve, or that RAG pattern, trying to retrieve potentially useful information that it then injects into Azure OpenAI as a prompt and tries to answer my question. And as you can see here, I think it did pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if
that's cool.
thanks. And so if we see here, there's a couple of things that I really want to highlight. First, there was no hallucination. There was nothing where the model made up an answer. It was told to only answer if you can find it in that content. And let me actually even click on one of these citations where you can actually go and view and actually validate that it's correct. And that allows us to tie these together, Seth.
That's cool. And I think the cool part about this is if I understood this right, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding, you're basically taking the query that the person or the chat message, and you're searching in Azure Cognitive Search for stuff related to that message, and then you're putting that text into the prompt that then the large language model, in this case ChatGPT or GPT-3.5 Turbo, uses in the prompt to generate a grounded answer and not just make stuff up.
You got it. In fact, we can actually see this. We have in this demo, we have a developer mode, so you can actually see this. So if I click on the supporting content, you can see what the search service had brought back as potentially useful snippets of information, which we then injected into a prompt, what we call an Azure OpenAI prompt, that explains to the model what to do. And it also says, I want you to only use these sources of information. So it allows me to do that. And in fact, I can just continue on and just say, what about dental, right? And I can ask that to further discuss this. And you'll notice a couple of really cool things here is that not only did it answer my question, but I didn't re-ask that about my plan. It just remembered from the context that I have a Northwood Health Plus plan, and it continued that on through that discussion.
That's interesting. How does it remember what you said before? Because the way I understood these things is you're just giving it a prompt and it returns text. How does it how are you retaining the conversation?
That's one of the great parts about the ChatGPT model, is that we can actually continue to keep previous information, previous discussions into that prompt so that it continues forward, so that the context from before continues into the further discussions.
So you're basically, this is cool because it gets into this notion of prompt engineering, but with RAG, the RAG pattern, where you're retrieving
Exactly.
information to augment the prompt. You're putting the messages in there because the ChatGPT model is very good at conversations, and then it's giving you answers grounded in the data plus what the person is asking.
Exactly.
That's
And
cool. And so, is this hard to set up though?
it's really not. And in fact, one of the things, let me show you one other example, and then I'll
Let's do it.
show you how this is all backed and how easy you can deploy all this through some of the code. So let me just clear this out, and I'm going to ask a different question. I'm going to say, can you tell me about performance reviews? And while it's doing that, I'm actually going to take that question, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to try it in a different way. I'm going to go into the Bing translator, and I'm just going to paste in that question. Oops, sorry. I'm going to paste it in
Oh,
and copy
nice.
it in Spanish. Let me take that exact same question and put it in. So I'm going to ask the same question in here. Now, what you'll see in a second is that this comes back, and what it'll do is it will answer my question in Spanish, even though none of the content is in Spanish. It was able to handle that. And so back to your question, Seth, what we've done is we've provided this GitHub repo, and I want to show you something. Within this GitHub repo, we have the prompt that backs this. And I'm going to show you just one sentence that we added to the prompt. We said, if the question is not in English, I want you to translate it, and I want you to then answer it. So you all of a sudden have a multi-language support with a single sentence that you added to your prompt.
I hopefully you're seeing. Oh, well, now you're seeing my face. It's basically like, that's bananas, because enterprises have been at, one of the things that I've seen is that it's like, oh, ChatGPT is answering things incorrectly. Well, of course, it was trained on data that was from before now. Number one. Number two, there's some data that it never looked at, like what's our Contoso employee handbook, because for those of you that may not know, Contoso is a fictitious company.
Yeah,
So it probably didn't crawl over documents about Contoso, even though it may have.
yeah,
They've always been asking about, how can I make it answer questions about my stuff? And now what you're saying is with RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, specifically with cognitive search, you're able to pull stuff back and ground the model and even give it instructions in English to be like, and by the way, you should translate this. And that's
yeah.
bananas.
It's really fun to play with, Seth, and it's really great. A fun fact that we had of this is that all of this content, you mentioned Contoso being a fictitious company, this the health plan, all the documents, purely generated using Azure OpenAI. We just asked it to create content. It created over 100 pages for a health plan. It was amazing. So super, super fun to work with,
Oh
Seth.
my goodness. It feels like as programmers we're cheating nowadays. It's like this has got to be
It's
cheating.
so true.
It's like the fast mode of this. But this is really cool. What's the reaction been, or are there any other details that you'd like to share?
Yeah, this has been a really popular tool for us. You can hopefully see how many people have actually taken a look at it. But I want to go back to your other question about deploying it. It's literally a matter of downloading this GitHub repo. It has a lot of information, but all you really need to do is just do a couple of simple steps to deploy it. Just AZD to log in to your subscription. You can initialize it and deploy it. So in 3 simple steps, you can get this up and running and going. So I hope that you and some of the viewers will take a look at this, Seth.
I don't know what to say. It's like you've thought of everything. It's like I'm going to blow your mind, number one. Then I'm going to blow your mind again by programming in language, and then I'm going to blow your mind by saying just do AZD up, and you can have this too
Well, I
in
appreciate
your
it.
own Subscription. This is really cool. Anything you want people to go read or look at?
No, I'd love it if they, take a look at this, give it a try, give us feedback. Tell us how it's working. What are the types of things that you would like to see in this? Have you seen any really interesting things? So I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say.
Amazing. And I was trying to like lob one up because he told me to put the blog post in a link, and there's a blog post on that for y'all to go look at. Look at
Thank you.
Liam.
That is a great link too.
Oh, Liam. Liam's awesome. Love working with him. And also, for sure, minimally, you should go look at the GitHub repo, browse around the code, and see if it's really as easy as Liam said to set this up in your own subscription. Any parting words, Liam?
No, I'm just super happy to be back, and hopefully we will be back a little bit more often with some additional cool things coming down the road.
I'm going to hold you to that. Thank you so much. And my
Absolutely.
friends, thank you so much for watching. We're learning all about how you can make your own enterprise GPT real with Azure Cognitive Search and Azure OpenAI Service. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care.